The first time I heard her say those words, I didn't understand what she truly meant. I thought it was about money, maybe a simple thank you gift, something small and polite. But it turned out to be something far deeper, something that would change my view of kindness, grief, and human connection forever. When she looked at me with tired, grieving eyes that tried so hard to appear cheerful, I realized there were stories people carried quietly, heartbreaks buried behind warm smiles, and moments of grace that arrive when we least expect them. But if you believe kindness and second chances matter in this world, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heart of a Father. Your support helps us spread more meaningful stories like this one. My name is Aaron. I was 29 years old at the time, living in a small, quiet street of a daytime suburban town where the most exciting thing that happened was the mail arriving late. Life had not been easy for me recently. I had lost my job in a local manufacturing shop due to layoffs, and most days I worked odd repair jobs around the neighborhood to keep my rent paid. I didn't complain much. Life had taught me long ago that complaining doesn't change anything, perseverance does. Still, I felt weighed down by a quiet heaviness, like there was something missing, but I couldn't name what. My neighbor, Miss Helena, was perhaps the last person I ever expected to become important to my life. She was in her late 40s, graceful in a quiet way, with dark chestnut hair always tied loosely behind her shoulders and deep, dark eyes that made you feel like she saw everything without being told. She had moved into the neighborhood only 6 months earlier, and though she was polite to everyone, she mostly kept to herself. Some neighbors whispered rumors about her, some said she was divorced, others said widowed, some said she was simply trying to escape something. I didn't indulge in gossip. A person speaks when they're ready. Silence doesn't always mean secret, sometimes it simply means healing. One sunny weekday afternoon, I was out front of my small rental house fixing a loose bench, when I heard the creaking and scraping sound of metal from the house next door. It was her gate, old, rusted, and hanging at a crooked angle, refusing to close properly. She was trying to lift it and guide it back into place, but it was heavy and stubborn. She was struggling, though trying not to show it. She let out a sigh, paused, and pushed again. I put down my tools and walked toward her gently. "Would you like some help?" I asked. She paused, looked at me surprised, then a soft smile spread across her face. "Oh, I would really appreciate that," she replied. We worked together under the midday sun, the air warm and still. She held the gate steady while I removed the old hinges, cleaned them, and refitted new screws into stronger wood sections on the post. It wasn't difficult work, but it took time and patience. The kind of patience people rarely have for themselves anymore. While I worked, Helena talked, not deeply at first. Just simple things. The weather. How peaceful the street was. How she enjoyed the sound of birds in the morning. She spoke with gentleness, but every now and then her voice thinned, like she was holding something back. When the gate was finally restored and swung smoothly, she looked relieved, almost emotional, though she tried to hide it. "You deserve a little extra reward," she said kindly, and for a moment I felt awkward, thinking she was about to insist on paying me extra. I didn't want her to. But instead, she invited me to stay for tea on her front porch. There was something warm, comforting, and old-fashioned about the invitation. Like something out of a slower, kinder time. We sat outside, sipping tea that smelled faintly of jasmine, watching leaves flutter lazily in the warm daylight breeze. She didn't ask personal questions. She didn't pry. She simply sat with me, something I didn't realize how much I needed until that very moment. The world was so loud lately, everyone always rushing, always talking, always distracted. But Helena had this rare presence, the kind that made silence feel soothing instead of awkward. Eventually, she opened up, not with details, but with fragments. She told me she used to be married. She didn't say how long ago or what had happened. Only that she had moved here because the memories elsewhere had become too heavy to bear. I wanted to ask what kind of memories, but something inside me told me not to. Some stories are sacred. Some grief is a closed room that only the grieving can unlock when they're ready. Over the following weeks, Helena and I formed an easy, natural connection. She would wave when I stepped outside. Sometimes she brought me lemonade when I was working in the yard. I fixed small things around her house. A door hinge. A broken drawer. A loose ceiling fan bracket. Always simple things. And always, she repaid me not in money, but in something gentler. Time shared, stories told, quiet company that felt healing. One afternoon, as we were repairing a loose fence panel along her backyard, I noticed a small picture frame sitting inside her open kitchen door. It held a photo of her and a man close in age to her, smiling, holding hands, standing on a beach. Her smile in that photo was different, wide, carefree, unshadowed. I realized instantly, this must have been him. She caught me looking. And her voice, usually controlled, broke, only slightly. That was my husband, Adrian, she said. He passed away 2 years ago. She didn't need to explain how. Loss is universal. Pain is a language without translation. I'm sorry, was all I could say. But I meant it, she nodded, not with bitterness, but with the tired acceptance of someone who had fought and simply had to let go. He was the kind of man who believed in fixing things, she said quietly. He always said nothing that mattered should be thrown away just because it's broken. People included. Her eyes glistened with restrained tears. Not the kind that come from sadness alone, but from love. We talked that afternoon. Not lightly, but honestly. I told her about losing my job, how it made me feel like I was losing my place in life. She listened, not the way people listen to respond, but the way people listen to understand. That kind of listening is rare. It can soften even the hardest edges inside us. Over the coming months, our connection deepened, not into romance, not into something dramatic or sudden, but into something steady, respectful, healing. She encouraged me when I applied for new work. She reminded me to see value in myself even when life felt uncertain. I, in turn, helped her reclaim parts of her home and life that grief had left untouched, broken, or neglected. Her extra reward wasn't money, favors, or anything physical. It was companionship. Trust. A shared quiet rebuilding of two lives that felt lost in very different ways. The real turning point came on a bright, windy afternoon when I had just finished repairing her old garden bench. We sat on it together, and she closed her eyes, feeling the sunlight. She took a deep breath, like letting something heavy go. Aaron, she said softly, thank you for restoring more than just things around this house. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. You helped me remember that life doesn't end when someone we love is gone. It just changes shape. And maybe, we learn to hold their memory differently. Less painfully. More lovingly. Her voice was steady, but her tears finally came, not of sorrow, but release. That day I understood something vital. Sometimes the greatest reward is simply being seen, understood, and valued, not for what we can do, but for who we are. My life didn't magically become perfect after that. I still struggled, I still questioned myself, I still faced challenges. But I no longer carried those struggles alone. I found a job again at a local workshop. Helena began volunteering at the community center. Our homes were separate, our lives distinct, but our connection, a bond formed through compassion, listening, and mutual respect, remained steady. And every time I passed that restored gate, that simple gate that started everything, I remember how small acts can open big doors, how kindness can arrive quietly, and how healing often begins where we least expect it. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heart of a Father. Your engagement helps us bring more real, human stories to the world.